In the Fallout series, vaults are more than just bunkers. They're a peek into what happens when people try to survive the end of the world in some pretty unusual ways. Created by the company Vault-Tec, these vaults were supposed to protect folks from nuclear disasters. But, as players soon find out, there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. Each vault has its own secret story, from experiments on the people living inside to hidden agendas. These stories aren't just about survival, they're about how people react when they're pushed to their limits. This video will take you on a tour through the lore of some of the most interesting vaults in the Fallout world. So, let's start our exploration of these fascinating underground worlds and discover what makes them so intriguing. Vault 11, hidden in the Mojave Desert, is a chilling exploration of human psychology and group dynamics. Unlike the straightforward purpose of most shelters, Vault 11's story begins with a dark social experiment. The residents were told that they must sacrifice one person among them every year to ensure the survival of the rest. The method of selection varied, but the outcome was always the same: one life for the many. This grim directive set the stage for a social collapse marked by paranoia, guilt, and betrayal. As the years passed, the population dwindled, not just because of the annual sacrifices, but also due to the violence and infighting these demands incited. The inhabitants formed factions, turned on each other, and the moral fabric of the community unravelled. The experiment pushed people to their limits, testing the boundaries of ethics and survival. But the most shocking twist came when only 5 members remained. They refused to continue the sacrifices and, in defiance, chose mutual death over murder. It was then that Vault-Tec's true intention was revealed. There had never been a need for sacrifice. The social experiment was designed to see how long it would take for the occupants to reject the premise and unite against the directive. The vault was a mirror, reflecting the darkest aspects of human nature when faced with manufactured despair. It forces us to ask ourselves, how far are we willing to go when we're told it's for the greater good? And at what point do we stand up and say, enough? Nestled within the capital Wasteland lies Vault 101, a seemingly typical Fallout shelter with a dark twist. Unlike other vaults designed for various social experiments, Vault 101 was built around the concept of complete isolation from the outside world indefinitely. The Overseers, appointed as the vault's governing body, enforced a strict policy: no one enters and no one leaves. This rule was not merely a guideline, but the foundation of Vault 101's existence, shaping the lives and ideologies of its inhabitants. Vault 101's experiment aimed to study the effects of prolonged isolation on a community both psychologically and socially. The Overseers manipulated information, controlled resources, and even engineered situations to maintain their power and the illusion of the outside world's perpetual danger. This microcosmic society developed an intricate hierarchy and a culture deeply rooted in the fear of the unknown and the sanctity of the vault. However, the true complexity of Vault 101 lies in its inadvertent exploration of human resilience and curiosity. Despite the Overseers' efforts to quash dissent and curiosity, the human spirit's desire for freedom and knowledge proved indomitable. The protagonist of Fallout 3, known as the Lone Wanderer, begins their journey within the confines of Vault 101. Their eventual departure, driven by a personal mission, becomes a pivotal moment that challenges the very foundation of the Vault's experiment. The Lone Wanderer's story highlights the inevitable clash between control and human nature. It underscores a profound truth: the desire to explore, understand, and connect with the world is intrinsic to human nature, regardless of the barriers imposed upon it. Vault 108 stands out in the Fallout universe for its bizarre and unsettling experiment: the exploration of cloning technology gone awry. Located not far from the capital Wasteland, this vault's initial purpose seemed benign enough, providing refuge for its inhabitants. However, the true intent behind its creation was far more sinister and peculiar, even by Vault-Tec standards. The vault was equipped with a cloning lab, ostensibly to study the possibilities of using cloning to overcome the challenges of post-nuclear survival. Almost immediately after its activation, the experiment took a dark turn. The cloning process was flawed, resulting in numerous copies of the same individual, a man named Gaaary. These clones, however, were not perfect replicas. Each iteration seemed to degrade, leading to increased aggression and a significant decrease in mental faculties. The only word they seemed capable of uttering was
Gaaary! 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 Gaaary!
As the number of clones multiplied, the original population of the vault found themselves outnumbered and eventually overwhelmed. The Gaaary clones took over, turning the vault into a bizarre chamber where the only interaction was between the aggressive, nonsensical clones of the same man. This led to the complete collapse of any semblance of normal society within Vault 108, leaving it as a cautionary tale of science unmoored from ethics and human consideration. Vault 108, with its halls echoing the solitary word Gaaary, remains one of the most haunting and memorable stories within the Fallout series. In the arid wastes of the Mojave Desert, Vault 22 stands as a testament to the unintended consequences of attempting to create a utopia. Designed with the noble intention of pioneering advancements in agricultural technology, this vault was outfitted as a lush, self-sustaining greenhouse. Its corridors and living quarters were filled with plant life, aimed at solving food shortages in the post-apocalyptic world. However, the beauty of this green oasis masked a creeping horror that eventually led to the downfall of its inhabitants. The scientists in Vault 22 developed a fungus intended to boost crop yields. Initially, it seemed like a resounding success, as plants thrived and food became abundant. But soon, a darker side of this miracle solution emerged. The fungus turned parasitic, infecting not just the plants, but also the vault's residents. Those infected underwent a horrific transformation, becoming aggressive, spore-dispersing carriers of the fungus. This contagion turned Vault 22 into a deadly trap, with the lush greenery camouflaging the danger lurking in every corner. The vault was eventually abandoned, its doors sealed with the infected and mutated inhabitants left to roam its once bountiful halls. Adventurers and researchers who later stumbled upon Vault 22 found a cautionary tale of ecological disaster. Vault 77 is a unique and peculiar footnote in the annals of Vault-Tec's experiments. Unlike the sprawling complexes designed to house hundreds, Vault 77 was built for just a single inhabitant. The story of Vault 77, detailed in the Penny Arcade comic, One Man and a Crate of Puppets, and hinted at within Fallout 3 through scattered in-game references, unfolds as a deeply psychological narrative exploring isolation and its effect on the human psyche. The sole occupant of Vault 77, known only as the Puppet Man, was sealed into the vault with nothing but a crate of puppets for company. The experiment aimed to study the effects of extreme isolation on an individual, with the puppets serving as the only means of social interaction. Over time, the Puppet Man formed deep attachments to these inanimate objects, assigning them personalities and roles in his solitary existence. The narrative takes a dark turn as these relationships evolve, reflecting the deteriorating mental state of the Vault 77 dweller. Eventually, the Puppet Man leaves the vault, taking one of the puppets with him. This departure marks the beginning of a legend in the Wasteland, as tales of a mysterious figure, accompanied by a puppet, spread across the land. Vault 34, nestled within the Mojave Wasteland, offers a narrative steeped in the dangers of unchecked armament and the collapse of community. Unlike many of Vault-Tec's experiments, which focused on social or psychological manipulation, Vault 34's story revolves around a very tangible and immediate threat: an overabundance of firearms and ammunition. This vault was designed with a unique premise, equipping its inhabitants with a vast armoury, purportedly for their protection and to uphold the right to bear arms, even in a post-apocalyptic setting. The initial years in Vault 34 were marked by peace and stability, with the residents living relatively comfortable lives. However, as time wore on, the abundance of weapons led to escalating tensions and conflicts. Disagreements that might have been resolved through discussion or mediation turned violent, with deadly consequences. The community that had once been a haven for its inhabitants became a battleground, ravaged by internal strife and paranoia. The situation reached a critical point when a group of residents, concerned about the safety of their families, attempted to seal off the armoury. This move sparked a violent uprising, dividing the vault's population and leading to a catastrophic reactor meltdown. The resulting radiation leak not only decimated the remaining population, but also transformed the vault into a highly irradiated and dangerous ruin, teeming with feral ghouls, the mutated remnants of its former inhabitants. Vault 75, located beneath Malden Middle School in the Commonwealth, embodies one of Vault-Tec's most sinister experiments, the creation of a superior human soldier. The vault was ostensibly designed to protect the families of the local community. However, the true purpose of Vault 75, unbeknownst to most of its inhabitants, was far darker and more disturbing. Upon entering the vault, families were separated and adults were executed under the guise of decontamination, while children were subjected to a rigorous regimen of physical conditioning, academic education, and genetic experimentation. The goal was to enhance their physical and intellectual capabilities far beyond normal human limits. These children were the raw material for Vault-Tec's vision of a post-apocalyptic elite, capable of reclaiming and dominating the Wasteland. The experiment was as brutal as it was efficient. Children who did not meet the rigorous standards set by the overseers were removed from the program, and their fate, though not explicitly stated, was grimly implied. Those who excelled were further subjected to genetic modifications and intense combat training. The cycle of training, testing, and selection continued, refining each successive generation in pursuit of the perfect super soldier. Vault 75's existence came to light through the discovery of hidden documents and the testimony of survivors who managed to escape. The vault, now abandoned, serves as a chilling monument to the lengths to which Vault-Tec, and by extension, pre-war society were willing to go in the name of progress and security. Vault 112, hidden beneath the unassuming facade of a garage in the capital Wasteland, is home to one of the most ethically ambiguous experiments conducted by Vault-Tec. Unlike the physical trials and social manipulations seen in other vaults, Vault 112's experiment delved into the realm of virtual reality, trapping its inhabitants in a perpetual digital illusion. Dr. Stanislaus Braun, the brilliant and twisted mind behind Vault 112, designed the vault to house a virtual reality simulator called the Tranquility Lounger. The residents, under the pretense of entering a utopian world free from the ravages of nuclear war, were hooked up to these loungers indefinitely. Within this digital dreamscape, Dr. Braun assumed the role of a godlike figure, able to manipulate the virtual environment and its unwitting occupants to his whims. The true horror of Vault 112 lies not in the physical environment, but in the psychological torment inflicted upon its residents. Dr. Braun, bored with the limitations of a peaceful utopia, repeatedly subjected the vault's inhabitants to twisted scenarios, ranging from idyllic towns to nightmarish landscapes, all while erasing their memories after each iteration to prolong their suffering. The inhabitants of Vault 112 were trapped in a cycle of virtual lives, each ending in trauma or tragedy, only to be reset at Braun's whim. Vault 21, nestled in the heart of the New Vegas Strip, stands out not just for the extremity of its experiment, but for its surprisingly benign nature, especially when compared to the dark tales of its counterparts. This vault's experiment revolved around the concept of democracy and egalitarianism, applying the principles of chance and majority rule to every aspect of its inhabitants' lives. From the allocation of chores to the settlement of disputes, all decisions within Vault 21 were made through gambling and democratic vote, reflecting the vault's location in what was once Las Vegas' Strip. The social experiment at Vault 21 was designed to test the viability of a society governed entirely by the principles of equality and random chance. In many ways, this experiment was one of the few conducted by Vault-Tec that didn't have a malevolent twist. Instead, it sought to understand if a community could thrive when every decision, no matter how minor or major, was left to the luck of the draw. Remarkably, Vault 21 was one of the few experiments that could be considered a success. The inhabitants lived in relative harmony, with the random nature of decision-making creating a culture of acceptance and adaptability. Disputes were rare, and when they occurred, they were resolved without bias or conflict, adhering strictly to the Vault's democratic and chance-based governance. However, the Vault's unique societal model came to an end when Mr. House, the enigmatic ruler of New Vegas, saw the strategic importance of the Vault. He negotiated with the residents, eventually leading to the vault being filled with concrete, save for the top levels, which were converted into a hotel and casino. This marked the end of Vault 21's experiment, but also served as the beginning of its new life as a quirky attraction in the heart of New Vegas, retaining its democratic and egalitarian ethos in spirit, if not in practice. Vault 81 stands as a rare beacon of hope and success among the myriad of Vault-Tec's morally ambiguous experiments. Located near Boston in the Commonwealth, Vault 81's initial experiment was designed with a dual-purpose approach, unbeknownst to the majority of its residents. One part of the vault was to serve as a control group, living in standard conditions, while the other part was secretly intended for scientists to develop and test medical treatments and vaccines on the unsuspecting population. However, the course of Vault 81's history took a decidedly positive turn due to the actions of its overseer and the resident scientists. As the experiment was set to begin, the overseer, having grown skeptical of Vault-Tec's intentions and morally conflicted about the experiment, made a critical decision. She refused to initiate the testing protocols, instead opting to seal both sections of the vault from each other and from the outside world. This decision preserved the integrity and safety of the vault's inhabitants, sparing them from the unethical experimentation that could have led to untold suffering. Over the years, Vault 81 became a thriving, self-sufficient community. The residents developed a strong sense of solidarity, working together to maintain their home and the well-being of everyone within it. The scientists, isolated from the main population but still in communication, turn their efforts towards genuine medical research, benefiting the Vault dwellers without harm or deception. The story of Vault 81 is a testament to the power of ethical leadership and community resilience. When the sole survivor, the protagonist of Fallout 4, discovers Vault 81, they find a community that, unlike many others, has managed to maintain a semblance of pre-war normalcy and morality. The Vault serves as a living example that even in the darkest of times, humanity can thrive through compassion, cooperation, and the courage to stand up against unethical practices. The Vaults of the Fallout series serve as fascinating windows into the varied aspects of human nature, each one offering its own unique blend of hope, despair, ingenuity, and folly. From the harrowing tales of sacrifice and survival to the brighter stories of communities finding their way towards a semblance of normalcy, these vaults provide a rich tapestry of post-apocalyptic possibilities. Have I missed any vaults that you find particularly compelling or intriguing? Share your thoughts and let me know which vaults you think deserve a spotlight in the vast, irradiated world of Fallout. And if you enjoy delving into the depths of these vaults with me, consider showing some support. Like, subscribe, or drop a comment to keep the conversation going. Your support means the world, and it's what fuels our journey through the Wasteland and beyond.